All right, here we go. Yay, transitioning from school to the workplace. All right, so I'm gonna see if I can turn off the PowerPoint. I've never actually told it to stop presenting. There we go, stop sharing. Cool. Stop presenting. There we go. All right. So, uh, I'll kick things off. And you can just unmute if you want, unless you got kids or something or dogs, in the background, screaming, barking, etc. Thank you for muting. It does happen. Um, we all remember with COVID, there'd always be like that flying gang of kids fly by in every meeting, you know, it's always fun. Uh, so recently, I had a few experiences with people that were either fresh out of school or transitioning from going from school into the workplace. And one of them, the youngest of them, commented, "Wow, I didn't realize how different the workplace is." And I was like, "Oh, interesting." And he did part of his internship presentation on why it was a difficult transition to be an intern for the 10 weeks or so as a summer internship. It was interesting, some of the points that he brought up, and one of them was, okay, it's not educational, or education focused, or it's very task focused. It's very, no hand holding. It's just go do it. Given a task, run with it. And that's a an unexpectedly difficult transition, because if you don't have the like in school, everybody's obtaining the same goal, and it's okay. You can work your way through it, and if you don't succeed, I'm transitioning into my own opinion here to what I explained to him. I explained this to a coworker of his too. Um, you're allowed to get a B, C, or D in school. But in the workplace, what I explained to them, I said, look, you either get an A or an F. That's it. You get an A or an F. And I don't care how many times you get an F, as long as you end up with an A. In some cases, I'll accept a B, really a B plus, or maybe an A minus. But it can't be anything lower than that. There has to be a really good reason as to why, because we have a deliverable to meet. It's not about getting a grade, it's about completing a deliverable. So I don't know, what does everyone else think about that?
I'll chime in on that. I'm currently a student at Columbus State in my last semester. Currently doing the capstone. I finished everything else, but you're not wrong. I've thought about it a lot, and I've had previous instructors who were even interested in bringing me on to their own teams at their own workplaces. But it's very I have a little imposter syndrome. I'm not sure I
Yeah.
can do the things they're asking me. So, for sure, when I get dropped into that situation, it's going to be very, situational, obviously, what they're going to have me do. But I know I'm not looking forward to kind of just being dropped in there. And I hope it's not blind. And I'm sure I'll have some lead or some guidance, but I understand the difficulty of it. So I'm not shy about that one. I know it's coming.
Well,
Yeah.
and you're right. Imposter syndrome is huge, especially in IT. But there's
Yeah.
also just the timing of like I have a 20-year-old daughter, so she's kind of right at that stage where finishing up school, getting her career started, but at the same time she's got her first rental house, she's paying her bills for the first time, all of these things. So we are really bad about saying, oh, you've hit this milestone. Now you're an adult. Like now
Yeah,
and it's
surprise.
just crazy. And I think especially in IT, it's a little bit softer if you can get into a spot that has a mentorship group or has some way to build and grow. But it's hard to find those. It's hard to find opportunities where you can go in and say, yeah, I know 60% of the job from school. Teach me the day to day.
30.
Okay. but
Let me
you
be
have to
part of your
also
machine. I'll figure it
understand.
out.
You have to also understand that every person who's in an IT career has been in your spot, Sarah, where they
Absolutely.
Yeah.
came out of you know, at one
Right,
point they
right.
went, I want to be a programmer, and they had to go through this life curve. The life curve is harder due to the influx of new students with boot camps and all the different ways that we've given in the last decade for people to learn this.
Right.
But also just companies that don't feel like, hey, I'm willing to take that chance on somebody new. I talk to my clients all the time about, you've got to build this in. Heck, I can save you, $40,000 per head per person if
Grow
you'll
your
bring
people.
in
Grow your
somebody.
people. Don't expect them to be smarter than Google right off the bat.
Absolutely, Matt. And I mean,
I'll wait my turn.
no, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah. Don't expect them to know everything. Let me save you money by bringing people in who you can teach, and then you can teach the way you want to do. And to go back to Ari's
An
point
investment
of,
if you play your cards right.
yeah,
It's not about being the boss and being in charge and being an asshole.
yep. And to go back to Ari's point of, I want you to make A's, I'll take a B. You know what? If I can give you people who are solid B's and you'll teach them to be A's, they will stay and work for you and put in that, and that, once we can get you past that imposter syndrome and they have that loyalty, you've got a career.
Yeah.
You gotta respect your people and they'll respect you.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well,
mutual.
one thing I'm finding working with people coming out of school, so Sarah, I don't know how this will help you. One thing they don't seem to really teach as a skill is debugging. They teach getting something done. Like, here's an assignment.
That's
Go get it
QA's
done.
job. That's QA's job.
So
Yeah.
I won't lie, I did have a really awesome professor I took I think 3 courses with him. I loved him to death, and that's what he would say all the time. He would try to bring us, it was a lot of PHP, but he would try to bring us stuff that he utilized at work, or frameworks, or stuff that he was currently utilizing at a project. So we did actually do a bit of debugging, and he did make us work through that and understand how to catch all that. So I do have some experience, and I know he kept harping on unit testing too, and he's like, that's going to keep gnawing at you, and you're going to have to know how to do that. So,
And another thing on this page is how to go to Google and look for what you're looking for. Find the answer. Don't sit there and wait for somebody.
Yeah.
A lot of it, Sarah, to your point, comes down to having that good teacher, whether it be in academics or that your first role, having that senior who's mentoring you in some way. Because like I always give the example of Shakespeare. Whether or not you love Shakespeare really comes down to how you were taught. If all you got was Romeo and Juliet, you're like, all right, this is kind of trite and I'm done. If they were showing you David Tennant's Hamlet, that's really good and you're going to love it.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes down to how it was taught and what was presented.
Yeah. And, you're not on your own when you get out of school and start in the workplace. I think that's, former students, graduates, whatever y'all want to call yourselves. You don't have anything to prove. You've been hired. You need to take advantage of the team that you've got. But that being, that being said, you also have to fend for yourself. So, you got to do your part. Something that's different than college is, like, just getting back to what I was saying before, which is you're given an assignment. And oftentimes it's a short assignment, Whereas the workforce is long term. Like, when I'm building something, at Clips, or even, for myself, I'm not thinking, what am I doing for the next like week or two? I'm thinking, what might this look like in an MVP, like minimum viable product? And then what is phase 2? What is phase 3? If I can even think that far out. And what's it probably going to take to get there? And that is like an impossible task for a college student, because you're not just in your software engineering courses. You're in expensive high school, right? You're in
trig, algebra, calculus.
You're worrying about tests in like 4 unrelated topics, plus how you're gonna have like food. You're also young, so you want to party. I mean, a long-term project is not like a thing in college. So when you end up in the workplace and people are like, okay, you are one of like 8 people on this project. This is your list of tasks. Go. It can be jarring because you're not used to that. It's like, I'm not getting 1 assignment, I'm getting 8, and I have a week to do it.
The sprint.
That's the crap my pants moment. And I've talked with a few people, and I would say, look, you just got to be honest and communicate that if there's something you can't do, you got to let the team know. Can't let them know at the last minute. And that's big. Like, communication's big. Communication is not big in college.
And I would add to that
Yeah,
it's not just you as a student who has that. People who are career changing later in life, as we're seeing a lot of people doing now. Everybody, when you go into a new role, you get the, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm talking about, I everything's coming at me at once. So I think it's real easy, Sarah, to go, oh well, because I'm a student or because I'm young, I don't know everything. You're in the same boat as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
College is more of a competition on a 4.0 scale. Workforce is collaboration. If one person's oaring a canoe race harder than the other, you're just going to go in circles. You got to collaborate. You got to get to know each other, and let's get this together, team. Let's go.
Yeah.
Greg, you had some of that when you transitioned, didn't you?
What's that? Dealing with projects, or
just dealing with kind of how to transition coming from your background into tech.
Yeah, it was fun. So it was hard to find a good, like, the thing that I ran into was that companies weren't really sure how to handle my experiences, like my military experiences, even though they were some of it was developed for time.
What branch? Sorry, what branch? Right.
Some of it was developer stuff. It's just like it didn't translate as well as they thought, or as I thought, to like civilian speak. So while I had a lot of help, I had a lot of people help me refine that resume. What ultimately got me hired at HAC was the fact that after my first interview, they went out to my GitHub and they looked at all of my personal projects.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Okay, let's hire him.
Yeah.
Like, I got an offer the day after my first interview. I didn't even have a follow-up.
Yeah. If you can prove that you've done it, and I think, I'm curious what other people on this call think. So if you've been talking and not hearing a response, it's because you're muted. Hey, it happens. I have my hat with me right now, but I've got a "you're muted" hat. And what I do is I usually wear it on meetings backwards, and then when I see, I flip it around, and then you see this.
Oh, that's funny.
And then, oh, you got me. I was muted. But anyway. Yeah, I'm curious what other people are thinking here, because we've got 5 people talking. yeah, that if you can prove that you've done it, wow, like, yeah, Sarah, I'm calling you out specifically because you're still in school. Um, I'm finding it more difficult to hire people straight out of college if all they did was the classwork. Because the degree doesn't tell me anything about what you're capable of doing other than passing a test.
You could have 4.0 GPA.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
so you did great in the classes, but you did like an 5 hours a week, not and the guy who didn't graduate high or primary college, that spent 20 hours a week doing software engineering is, with respect, 3-4 times more valuable than you.
That degree
Because
doesn't mean shit.
they know how to dive into the
You
code.
got double major in that degree. Doesn't mean shit.
Failing doesn't bother them. Yeah, I mean, these are big deals when it comes to the workforce. So what I would recommend if you're coming out of school, whether you're asking for my opinion or not, is make sure that you're stacking up on real experience. Like, go work on your own project, go debug it, go get it done. Like a project that took you,
Pluralsight. Go to Pluralsight.
3 months. Not Pluralsight in my eyes. Just find a project to work on and just hack your way through it for a few months and get it done.
That's all.
Because Pluralsight is the same as school.
I know.
Pluralsight's like, here's an assignment, you're going to get it done like everybody else. It doesn't require you to think how to solve the problem. It requires you to figure out a new skill.
Times 2 and like download the exercises and okay.
Matt,
wait a minute.
I totally agree with you as far as continued learning. Pluralsight is great.
Yeah.
I'd love to see when folks come out of a boot camp or straight out of school.
It's both.
I want to see your projects. I want to see your GitHub, and I want to see you out there finding your own work. I love when I see people who have gone out to Fiverr even and picked up a simple. I mean, I explained Fiverr's like, it's like GitHub. It's like GitHub for tech. Okay. So you put,
it's like gig work.
Yeah, it's gig work.
Sorry, Nicole.
Can you post that link in the chat later on, please?
Yep. So definitely go out there, check it out. It's called Fiverr because it pays like $5, but go take a look at it and pick up some simple projects. And then the nice thing is, on your resume, you can be like, yeah, I worked on this project from this date, and you can put that on your resume. If a recruiter says, well, were you paid for that, or was it something you did? You were paid. You don't have to tell them you were paid $5. Tell them you were paid.
Yeah. And what like Fiverr, great idea. I remember there used to be like Moonlight Coder or something. Anyway, the point is going into a project and actually working on it, not learning a skill. Like, I could go follow YouTube videos and play basketball, because I suck at basketball. I could go watch some YouTube videos and start shooting hoops, and I might get better. But you put me into a game, I'm probably going to be the worst person there, because I only have the individual skill. I don't have the end result. I don't have real world experience. So I may not crack under pressure, but I don't know how to work with the 4 other people on my team. Hopefully I'm getting that count right. So anyway, the point is, one, yes, any sort of work you can do to get real experience where you have to deal with the stress of a project, not the stress of a skill set. One. Number 2, go, if you have other friends who write code, have them build something for you and break it on purpose and ask you to go fix it and give you no context. Like, I broke 7 things here. And this was a great experience. Like, when I was working with 1150, one thing I would do was, I had a broken web project. I took the project we had been working on for like 2 weeks, and I broke it in, I think, 10 ways. I told everyone, go find the 10 broken things. And the first one was I made it so I couldn't compile. And the second one was I changed the configuration setting that even when it did compile and run, it would immediately give you an error.
What did you do to make it not compile?
I removed a semicolon or something, or I cast something to the wrong thing. You know, I mean, it was obvious if you knew what you were doing, but people got stuck on it.
Oh,
You
like
know,
Visual Studio will tell you that stuff.
yeah, but people check in bad code all the time. So
They don't test it themselves before they check it in.
What did I do that broke it? Well, it forced them to go over to, and we talked about this afterwards, the people who didn't do it, to go to GitHub, or in this case, it was ADO, but to Git and look at the commit. What was the difference between the two? Why did it break? Not, oh, it doesn't compile, I couldn't figure it out. Well, I guess that's the way it is. Must be a bug in .NET. Yeah. And that skill set, the ability to go and problem solve and get your bearings, like where's the first place I should go when this sort of thing happens? Those are the skills that I end up looking for in a firmware, software engineer. Because if you can't do that, every single time you run into an issue, you will go and bother one of your teammates who does have that skill. And that's a loss of time, revenue, a lot of things. Now, we can educate, but not everyone has, like a team that, you can have like 5 interns and 1 senior and then 2 intermediates. So that's why I think before you go into the workplace, you can get some of that skill, or at least prep yourself with it. It'll just help you become a better developer and grow wherever you end up. And I've seen you make many faces, Greg, so I'm not sure if you agree.
No, I'm just like, I'm stuck on the fact that you said that people will check in broken code. Like, I will not check in anything unless I click that green play button and it loads.
You gotta check it. Yeah, you gotta check it before you
Well, here's an example. We have external developers. And I went to go build something that they had provided us. Didn't compile. They missed checking in one of the files. So in the commit, they committed everything but this one item that had what we needed in order to compile. So, wow. Whoops. And in the case of firmware, it's not always so easy to kick off a CI/CD platform or a pipeline that compiles firmware. It's all C. It's not like you just go kick off, the CSC compiler, and it goes and builds everything. There's particular environmental configurations that need to be done to get a tool chain all set up and then actually build the firmware. There's just things they could be automated, but it's going to take some time. So that sanity check that we do on some others, which is like on app development, it will verify whether something compiles or not, and it'll throw an error if it doesn't. Well, great, but you can't do that across the board. So yeah, it does happen. Or someone had a hard-coded value and something changed where that hard-coded value is no longer legit. And by the way, it's just a magic number. It doesn't even have a constant associated with it. How do you fix that sort of issue? Even getting a code review, like anything you can do, like Sarah, while you're working on any code for your capstone project, every single time, I would actually set it up where you have like a main branch, and you do all your work on various other branches or a develop branch. And before you ever commit, do a pull request and see if your professor will review it for you. you know, or someone you know in the industry that will stop you from making the mistakes.
Like a simple check for null.
Yeah. I don't know all the code that gets checked in, but if I'm assigned a pull request, I'll go, this doesn't look right. I'm missing some context here. Why would you be doing something this way? Because bad logic is often easy to point out. It's either convoluted or people are comparing to magic numbers, like I was talking about, or yeah, you commented out some code and wrote some code here. It's like, well, you immediately failed the PR because you checked in, commented out code. Yeah. But those are skills that I'd rather someone learn them before they get to the workplace because they become bad habits.
That's the difference between an A and an F.
I mean, usually you only do it once. Yeah, like if you're working for me, you know, I'll go and review that and go, no,
Let me
we don't
clean this
check
egg off
in,
my face.
comment out code. You
Yeah,
don't do that. That's why of source control. Yeah, that's why source control exists.
In old
So,
school, we
yeah.
didn't have source control, and that was a thing.
Yeah. Well,
Don't let me look at your computer with your 10 folders that say backup and a date. I've seen that. I've seen it. I used to do that before I knew what source control was when I was like, 22, And that's
DBA
before,
code.
but that's before we had, really internet was super prevalent and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you had enough bandwidth to store all this stuff. Anyway. So has anyone here actually transitioned to the workforce from school?
Kind of. I mean, I got my associates in 2000. I got my bachelor's in 2002. They didn't have C# as a class back then, and I had my first internship in 2000. And in 22 years, I've had 19 jobs. A lot of them were contractor, but it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's just been a roller coaster.
Well, I mean,
You got
just
a cold
in
there,
June.
Greg?
Yeah, well, I had an event, a family event, the weekend before last, and on my way back, I got a call from my sister saying, "Hey, guess who came to the event and had COVID?" So
Oh,
yeah,
great.
it was
Did you
fun,
pop positive?
yeah,
Oh, that sucks.
yeah, fun times.
I
Well,
had
it's
it
almost over.
twice before we had the vaccines were available.
Oh yeah, this
Never
is my second
again.
time, but I've vaxxed and boosted, so. But yeah, no, I just transitioned in June 1st. June 1st, I got out of the army and I was looking for a job starting in May, and it took a good 3 months before I found a good job. HAC is awesome. Like they had a lot of good benefits. It is a struggle because I'm just struggling trying to adjust to civilian life still. I've actually thought about quitting a few
100%.
times here and there because not because the job sucks, but just because my own difficulties in filling that void. Because it's not just a job; it's like a way of life. It's part of who you are. So, but I'm getting through it. So it's definitely been a change, but it's an interesting position because it is a software engineer position, but I'm also the only one that's writing code on the project that I'm on. So I'm designing it, documenting it, but also building it. So that's fun.
Architecting.
Yeah, but also like it is a small organization, I guess, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah,
It's good work. It's a good company. It's for a good cause. So
right. Yeah, if you have a team that supports you while you are transitioning, I think that's so worth. Yeah, it's so appreciated.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you're not expected to know everything about the company or its products or how everything's implemented all at once. And I think a
Code in
number
general.
of
Code in general.
well, I've heard people, like especially like people who are new, new developers. And we have a small development team where I am, but I've been at much larger, and the the struggle is real for them. They're like, well, what do I do? How do I tackle this problem? I'm like, hold up, breathe.
Breathe.
You don't have to get it on your first try.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, no one's gonna fire you tomorrow. Just hold up. If you drink bourbon, all right. Anyway, shameless plug. Shameless plug. The point is, it's great to lean on your team. And I think you gotta believe in yourself. You did land the job.
Mm-hmm.
So someone saw something in you. So stop doubting yourself. You've already gotten you're past foot in the door.
Yeah.
And it's okay to ask questions. But I think you have to have some situational awareness and recognize when you've asked, when you haven't actually chased the problem down before asking the questions.
Google.
I mean, Stack Overflow exists.
Stack Overflow.
Yep.
Which I didn't realize. Does anyone here know who Joel Spolsky is?
No.
Joel on Software. Old Microsoft developer, super popular software blog. Anyway, he started Fog Creek Software, and he was one of the founders of Stack Overflow. And I love Joel Spolsky.
Do you still have that T-shirt with the pancakes and the overflow?
I do. It says
That's
Stack
awesome
Overflow, and it's it says error Stack Overflow, and it has pancakes, like pixelated pancakes falling over.
It's an amazing shirt.
People are like, "You really like pancakes, don't you?" I go, "It's a matter of speaking."
You don't get it.
This is one of my favorite shirts to wear. I don't know if you can actually read it. Does it show up properly?
Oh,
quality what the
yeah,
F
that's
minute?
awesome.
Yeah. So I'm always asking. I don't know. You can't really see it this well here. Yeah.
Good job. Only two versus what?
Dude, what? Yeah. So
yeah.
my what the fucks per minute going up is an indicator that there's some code rot, smelly code. But yeah, lean on your team. Don't be afraid to go into the workforce. But before you go and start advertising in your resume that you have all these skills, go take a look. Go try debugging. Go try solving problems in the languages that you've got. Now you've got a capstone project, Sarah, so I imagine they allocate time for you to finish that. But so many college students without a capstone or people who go to, who are just using like Pluralsight, it doesn't run you through an actual project. It runs you through a training course. Like I may go and train, but that doesn't make me a trainer.
It's not practical.
Yeah. I mean, if I work out 30 minutes every day with a trainer, that in no way makes me a professional athlete.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, But I think if you do that, then you'll get your sea legs. Yeah. Hey, a Marine reference for a minute. And there you go. There you go.
I'm gonna be over here eating my crayons.
Yeah. You'll get your legs. You'll get.
That was cute, man.
To where you are. You gotta go in there. You gotta believe in yourself.
I'll write that down real quick. That was really good.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm a nerd like that. But no, you're not right. So I'm not as young as you guys think. I'm 33, almost 34. So
Oh God, you're old.
You're like a baby.
I'm a little bit, but that I get it because a lot of the kids that I see, I call them kids. a lot of the
48.
students that I'm with, they are really young, and they do kind of, even the courses that I've taken have changed. But one thing we're fortunate with, I don't know if it's just this professor or this campus, but we're required, it's kind of open-ended GitHub projects for a couple semesters. So we did have to go through full implementation from scratch.
Cool.
So we did do that. We did have some sprints, some deliverables. We were forced to communicate, and all PRs went through the professor, only if we needed it. So we could approve it, but again, I ran into smelly code, so I'm used to all that documentation, communication. It's all huge. So I definitely understand and agree, absolutely on all that. It's all part of it. You're probably right. I should work on some debugging. I only have one finished project on my repo. It'll be 2 after the end of this semester, so that's still not much. They're not bare bones, but they're something. They have some functionality, log in, log out, database security, stuff like that. So, but that's what I keep telling myself. Just because I can make you a front page, and I can nav you through my site, and you can log in and create account. Pick some favorites and store them to whatever. Doesn't mean I can do this job. But that's where
it means you're an asset already.
Comes in.
You're already an asset.
I'm sorry.
You're already an asset. You have the skill, but it doesn't mean that it's practical workforce skill.
You're right. I have skills, but can I apply them where I'm going?
Well, only time will tell. Only time will tell.
It'll depend on where I wind up for sure.
Depends on your motivation for one thing.
Well, I've been in food service and retail. I've been serving tables for a while, so I'm ready to kind of get this done with and get into my.
That right there, I've waited tables. That right there, and when you're in the middle of a rush, you gotta be on top of things. So
in that case, I wish you nothing but success, because it sucks to work in retail and food service.
It does.
I've never done it, but I've heard stories, and I have mad respect for those people.
I like what I do. I'm good at what I do. I'm good at multitasking and high stress and time constraints. So that all kind of can be helpful in the future. But yeah, I'm ready to be done with cash, under the table cash. It's a beggar's job in a sense. It's hard work, but you're sucking dick for money. It's the bottom line. Sorry.
So hi everyone. I'm not sure how
who occasionally bartends.
Well, I've done that too. So I've been around. I just would prefer to actually do something that drives me, something I'm interested in, something I can build a life with instead of just working in a restaurant. So I'm ready to flip the coin. I just know it's going to be a tricky one to do.
Yeah. If I could add one more thing, if you're not already a senior, but if you're earlier in your college career, I would say get an internship or a co-op. Something that throws you in for an extended period of time, like weeks or months, into a corporate environment where you can start getting a feel for what it's like to take a project from start to finish, or be thrown into a project and just see what it's like. Like, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of this. What now? I have deliverables.
Right.
I wouldn't want to be thrown into that cold. I wouldn't. And thankfully when I was younger and I got into software engineering, I started on my own projects. And then I got them done, but I hacked my way through them to get them done. And I built up my skill set by building like applications that I wanted to have. And figuring them out, hacking away, because I didn't have Pluralsight. I had Sam's Teach Yourself in 24-hour books. If anybody remembers those. And those were actually really well written oftentimes. So I go through each one of them and be like, oh, you know what? It sure would be cool if I wrote, like when I was learning ASP.NET, if I built a website that did this, and that's how I learned about SQL injection. After the fact, but that helped because by the time I ended up deciding being a software engineer would be a fun career, I'd already built my own applications and I could prove that I could build something. You know, like I ended up as the lead developer at a startup that did pretty well. And I had plenty of programming experience, but real world experience I had just had for a few years with my own projects. But really, you know, their stuff really wasn't that much more difficult than what I had already done. Because most of what we do, to be fair, is not cutting edge. It's process automation, higher efficiency, lower cost, putting a UI over, you know, some process to automate it. And, you know, we kind of do a lot of the same things all the time. So that was nice. Yeah.
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 I'm lucky that the organization I work for now is very forward thinking and forward looking. So I get to work on new technologies like Blazor and implement new things and new methodologies. And for the most part, they're on board with it as long as it solves the business problem. And I love Blazor because for me it's a lot more like desktop development than it is web development, and that's what I mostly did in the past. So
I've not dug into Blazor yet.
Blazor's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
One of my guys, I had built a web admin area, and you know, so he came on board. And I don't have time. I mean, I'm in charge of software engineering. You know, I can't write code all day. So he's like, well, do you mind if I do this in Blazor? Because I really want to get better at Blazor. I'm like, all right. I mean, you're the one maintaining it. Yeah. And he showed me what he was doing. I did a few, you know, pull requests. Yeah. But for the most part, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This makes sense. And yeah, that's actually turned into a motivator. You know, because you know, you're working on something fun and neat, you know. And if it's low risk, yeah, I'm cool with it. Yeah. And that's something that you should do, like when you're at when you get your gig, you know, your first job or any other jobs, don't be afraid to have suggestions and ideas as long as you're respectful about it. You know, that key is respectful. And you know, if you have a good reason for something, there's a chance you're going to get shot down. That's okay. You know, you're working with a bunch of software engineers. They're really smart people. Sometimes they're
stuck in their own way.
Yeah, well, sometimes software engineers don't have the soft skills. Those are lacking.
For those of you before, my name's Keith Nicole. I'm the
But
CEO of 50 Academy.
That being said, you know, I think if you know the one time someone says yes or the first time someone says yes, I think you'll be really happy. Yeah. Yeah. So what else? What else? Any other questions, comments?
The only thing I have advice wise, you know, I have had a lot of different things going on, but just don't give up. Don't give up. If it ever feels like, you know, screw this, I'm done. I'm changing my career again or something like that. Don't give up. I worked at Total Wines last year for a month, you know. I was making $14.50 an hour working at Total Wines with all these jobs that I've had, a double major computer technology, 3.28 GPA, which doesn't mean shit, you know.
Thank God it's not 2.7.
It's just collecting dust. It doesn't mean shit.
So I originally, I remember building my first GeoCities site when I was like 14, 15.
GeoCities,
yeah.
crap.
So there you go.
Flashback.
Yahoo GeoCities, man. I had a Yahoo GeoCities at 14, 15, and I learned how to manipulate the HTML, and then MySpace came along. And I wasn't into the social network forever, and then somebody finally convinced me to do it, and I was like, oh my God, I can play with the code. So I started school in like 2013, So despite a lot of life stuff and changing my major a couple times from network admin, security, I finally decided to stick with what I originally fell in love with was web dev. So, it's been a long process to get a 2-year. I've got a few certificates on the wall, but this is the one I keep wanting to go after.
Cool.
So I promise you, I've got 5 on the wall certificates with my name on them, but this is the one I want. This is the one I want to go for. So
You can do
I'm
it.
all in. I don't plan on giving up, man. I know the potential. I've met
Yeah,
some
don't give
people
up.
in the
Don't give up.
field.
Just
Yep.
keep going. Keep moving. Keep
I put
motivation.
myself out there. I network. I try.
Momentum.
Even at my serving job, I've met some people from out of state who are curious to see what I do in the next 6 months, or or want
Where
to
do
be
you
my
wait tables?
backbone
Where do you
mentor.
where do you wait tables at?
It's Rusty Bucket in Dublin.
I waited during college, 2002. I waited tables at Buca de Beppo for 2 years.
Okay. So yeah, I'm at Bucket now. It's got a kind of a high end,
I was always drunk.
semi-professional client base that comes in, and they like me. I'm pretty outgoing. I've got tags
You
on
have
my
to be, or
wrist,
else
and I
they're
get
paying
asked about
bills.
those all the time.
I love it.
Yeah, people are like, "Are those mountains?" And I'm like, "No, actually, I'm a developer." And they're like, "Ooh, I don't." what do
I'm
you
kind
mean?"
of greater than this, but less than this.
Right. They're like, "What is it? What's it?" Yeah.
If
no,
we do
so
a negotiation right now, I can tell you that my salary range will be greater than this number.
it's gotta
But
be.
let me
in
take
there.
this. Let me take this one down for a moment. We'll see where the range.
Right. I didn't close it. I don't know when I'm gonna close it. There's no close yet. I decided to leave that open-ended for now until I decide. But
Funny.
yeah, no, I'm definitely not going anywhere. This is a field I want to stay in. It's endlessly manipulatable.
Momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. It's ever changing. So I love it.
It
man.
is. It's a part-time job just keeping up with technology.
Absolutely.
That's fun.
They teach classes at Columbus State that are, I think it's an agile that's based on Minecraft now. It's like, what?
Yeah.
You get to do that 5 years ago when I took my agile course. Like, what do you get? That's not
Yep.
fair.
Well, gosh, I mentor at a local high school, and the kids get free access to all these courses, and they'll teach you Python or whatever, and it's all included. Yeah, there's different levels of it. Whereas when I was in high school, like I was lucky to get one programming course.
Or an
It was like
Excel.
Pascal
Yeah.
or
An
C.
Excel.
I took keyboarding. We had IBMs in my
Keyboarding.
high school lab.
Yeah, keyboarding. Keyboarding was fun.
Yes.
They didn't have no programming computer classes when I was a kid.
No.
Uh,
We could take like CAD classes. There was a few CAD design courses. You could build like a model car for the
But
semester.
I had a
CAD,
Tandy
but-
TRS-80 from Radio Shack. The thing you plug into the TV. I could make a house, but there was no deadlines. Now it's like
Right,
estimates. I've always tried to avoid estimates all career. It's like if you lose your keys, are you gonna find them within 5 minutes, or did you throw them away in the trash? It's gonna take you a week. Like when you're programming, am I gonna have to go to Google and somebody's gonna give me bad advice? I'm gonna sit here trying stuff down a rabbit hole for an hour, or is it gonna be like click, click, click? This makes sense. And 5 minutes later, here's my pull request.
Right.
Yep.
I have a hard time with that, with estimates, because a lot of my stuff on the government side, the deadlines were handed to you. It was in the upward. It was handed to you. You had to have it done by this date, and that was it. So now that they're asking me for estimates, I'm like, I give the
You
best
want me to
estimate
think
I
about
can,
what I need to do or
and-
what?
Yeah, so that's great. But
Yeah,
no, I
estimates.
gotta drop off now. But it was great seeing you again. I hope to be here for the next one.
Feel better, Greg.
Thank you.
It's nice
Thank
talking to you.
Greg.
It was really nice
Yep.
talking. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you
You
too.
as well, man.
You too.
Take care.
Feel free to reach out, LinkedIn or whatever. I'm happy to chat. I like chatting with new people. See ya.
Yeah, drop your link
Cheers.
in our chat if you want the LinkedIn. I'll check it out.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. So I'm trying to think if I covered everything that I know I wanted to cover.
No, you gotta
No,
think of something after we get off the call. Watch, I always do.
that's That's okay, Matt. It's okay.
I was talking from experience.
The boy, that internship stuff though, that's useful. That's super useful.
There is a program the couple students are doing. It's called ITFA or maybe something like that. I don't know. They placed 2 of our students with Honda. I'm not sure what they're doing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're currently doing internships with Honda. I don't know. I think I was too late to jump onto that. And their software over there. So reading through the doc for that, I didn't look like web dev was something that there was going to find an internship for me. I would have to reach out through advisors and whatnot. And here we are, week 5 of my last semester. So we'll see.
Wow. Well, congrats.
I know.
Congrats on getting through this. You've got this.
For sure. So they changed the curriculum for capstone for this semester. It used to be that you had a deliverables and you had to do as much as you could for that, and it was a group thing. You had network and security and devs and software all in the same group, but now they lost their AWS financials, so they changed the curriculum and now it's all individually. We're supposed to spend no more than 3 to 5 weeks giving you a bare bones skeleton to showcase our skills. So I don't know, that might be just as stressful, other than having to write it all myself and rely on others for documentation and Scrum and all that. But we'll see. 3 to 5 weeks for as best as I can do. Like,
you want advice?
Sure, always.
Well, I would bring up a platform like either Azure DevOps or FreeCamp, something where you can build out all the tasks that you need to complete. If you do that and order your tasks by priority, then you'll never fall outside of your spec. And scope creep won't be like, oh, you won't go down rabbit holes, basically.
It's a good idea.
And I did that on personal projects. Sometimes it's hard because it's a personal project.
Right.
Like you're like, I have it all in my head. You would never accept that in your job, having it all in your head. So why do you accept it personally? So you have to treat that personal project or whatever project you've got in organized fashion. And then if you go and you write all that stuff down, you'll see yourself making progress.
Yeah, I've got a board in front of me that's got like my first 3 weeks of sprints on it for whenever we are supposed to get started on that. And I've just been kind of looking at it like what I would like to be able to implement in that short time, whether I fill it with actual content or lorem ipsum, what I want it to be able to do. So the pre-planning and processing
lorem ipsum generators. So like if you need text that's going to be on a screen, you can just use a lorem ipsum generator and say, okay, even component. Hell, I wrote one. That I wrote. This is a few years ago, back when I was at Valorum. I wrote a utility because we needed to inject fake content that no one would ever see. So I just created a library, or it was a simple function. It said, how many paragraphs of lorem ipsum do you want? How many characters of lorem ipsum do you want? And do you want it formatted as HTML? And if you just call that, there's your content, And then, if you're looking for images, but you're not sure what the images should be, I'm not sure it still exists. Have you ever heard of Place Kitten?
Mm-mm.
I see a Place Kitten still exists.
Place Kitten. I've never heard of Place Kitten.
Oh, Place Kitten's amazing. So here, I'll show you Place Kitten. Because no one's seen Place Kitten has been around for like at least 12 years. But here, can you see my screen?
Yes.
So you can just say right here, you can say, okay, in your image source tag, you just do Place Kitten. And you give it its width and height right here.
Unreal. Cool.
I'll have to remember that. I think screenshot it and save it as a PNG or a JPEG or whatever you need for whatever you're building.
No, you don't have to do that. You just pass the place
The
name
values.
URL, and it will automatically generate it for whatever size you need.
But I'm saying, like there was a
You
site
wouldn't
that I
save
needed
any of
some
these images.
PNGs. I need a PNG, so I can take a snapshot and save it as a PNG
Yeah, if you wanted to, or just right click and save it.
for what I needed to do at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it gives you JPEGs right now. But anyway, the point is there's all these things that will take care of the content for you. So I find if you concentrate on, you know, the back end structure, because that's probably going to take you the most amount of time.
Mhm.
If you plan that ahead of time, like, you know, something we did before we started our own software platform, I said, let's agree on the data model. Meaning, what is all the data we're going to store? Don't write any code.
Right.
Never
Think about
ever
what you're
start
gonna do
with
before you
code.
start writing code.
Start with intent. What is your intent? Okay. So what are all the things that we need to do? Cool. So how do we store all the data for what we want to do? Okay, let's build that model out. And then we agreed on it. And we have rarely had to change the data model because we planned it ahead of time. And all we had to do was write the code that worked with it.
I've been guilty of that. I've been guilty of making spaghetti code before thinking about what I was going to do.
Don't build your database, you know, by just writing your classes. Think about it. You know, if the first thing you do is code, stop yourself. Unless you have some brilliant idea or you're just writing a utility. If you're not building a platform, if you're writing just a utility, this just needs to do some shit, fine. You know, you've got it in your head, you know what you need to do, go solve that problem. Right on, soldier, you know. But if you're building something that needs to be maintained over time, that needs to scale, and other people are going to work on it, start with defining your intent. Start with plan. And then, yeah, once you have that big picture of what you want to do, chances are you don't have time to do it all. Either you don't have time or you don't have budget or both. Yeah, those are the two things that are going to get you.
Yeah.
So at that point, split it up. What is MVP? Does everyone know what MVP is? Minimum viable product. Then this is the core thing I got to do. Then phase 2, I think I could do this. Then phase 3. MVP probably not going to change all that much unless you either get less time to do it or less budget or both. And that's okay. You can scale down MVP, move things into phase 2. That's fine. You know, once you get into the corporate world, I don't care if it's corporate or if it's a not-for-profit, etc. Time and money will be your two big things. Yeah. And money and time tie directly into resources. So you say I don't have enough resources, it's because you don't have enough time and money.
Fair
So,
enough.
yeah, if you do all that, if you plan it first, everything else you can actually build the tasks to make that vision, the intent that you've built, into a reality.
That's good advice. No, I like that. I've always been like a list maker and a planner, so it's second nature to me to kind of lay out. I kind of used to start with construction paper or crayons and kind of lay out what I wanted it to look like first back in the day, and then I'd go from there. That was just straight HTML, CSS though. Things have changed. It's a lot
It's
more.
amazing.
I'll
tell you though, it's such a great way to approach it. You know, like if you can, the weird thing that I noticed in school, they teach you a lot about just writing code. And I think that's one of the worst things because they teach you to write code first.
Mm-hmm.
They don't teach you to plan. But that's because when you're in class, they need to see that you picked up the skill. Just like that whole thing I was saying about before, YouTube, I can watch YouTube video on how to shoot a basketball. They don't teach me anything about strategy.
Right.
They don't teach me anything about, I may be great at dribbling the ball or shooting, but what happens when there's like 3 guys in front of me and I'm 5'6"? I mean, if I had a game plan, I'd probably do better at the game.
For sure.
Makes sense.
But that's the same thing at the school. They want to measure that you're getting value out of the investment you've made into college. The way they do that is by giving you tests and having you write code. And no one gives you a test at the end of 4 years to prove that you've learned everything you needed to in the last 4 years.
Right. And in all honesty, this capstone feels almost like a walk-off. Like I was kind of disappointed that the workload wasn't what it was. I wanted to be able to use this project that I'm doing this semester for my repo, and it's not. It's going to be a bare bones bullshit. So I'm a little disappointed by that. I feel like I'm getting gypped out of my last semester a little bit because AWS changed. That's okay.
Yeah.
But that just
you'll have
means
your degree
more on my free time.
I mean, it's such a bummer. I even tell like my high school mentees, I go, yeah, you're learning all these skills, which is great, but you also need to learn strategy. You need to learn, creative thinking.
That's it, dog.
Yes, dog.
There's 2. That's Lulu and Lacey.
My dog's over there.
I see 2 dogs.
Chilling out.
I see 3 dogs.
Right, Lainey?
My dog, I don't know where my dog's at. She's usually behind me, but she's not right now. She's somewhere around me.
So anyway, Sarah, if you have any other questions, feel free, to hit me up afterwards. Yeah. But I think we've had a good conversation tonight.
Yeah.
And by the way, I recorded all of this, so maybe it'll help other people. Maybe it'll help you to review. But yeah, thanks everyone for your time tonight. I'll get something on the calendar for another one for the quarter. But yeah, thanks for coming to the Indy .NET Consortium. Connect with each other on LinkedIn, and congratulations again, Sarah, on getting through it.
Thanks. I'll join the next one. Let you know how it's going.
Woohoo! Awesome. Thanks all. Be well. Be safe.
Hey, we'll have to get together for a beer sometime soon.
Yeah, hit me up, or bourbon.
Yeah, or bourbon, or lunch,
or all
bourbon
3
and
of
lunch,
those things.
man. Come on.
I could have all 3 of those things.
You can
It's
do all 3
okay.
of those things at one time.